It's time for the Chicago Bulls to move on from Zach Lavine, and in this video, we're going to be talking about just that. We'll be discussing 4 or 5, maybe even 6 teams where I think Zach Lavine could fit, and those teams would also be able to, supply the Chicago Bulls with a hefty package, whether it's assets or role players or young players. I don't think it's going to be a star for star exchange. We are 27 days straight and uploading every single day for the month of December. We are going to finish this month out with just 4 more posts. I guess after today it'll be 3 more posts. Appreciate your guys' support. The channel's been growing so much recently. Sorry if this video feels a little bit low energy, but we're going to power through it anyways. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get jumping right into this with the first team, Erik Spoelstra and the Miami Heat. Obviously, the Miami Heat have kind of been in the trade sweepstakes for a good amount of time now. When Bradley Beal was up on the market, they had their name in the hat. When Damian Lillard was up on the market, they had their name in the hat. But the reoccurring theme is that they are very interested in guards that can score. And you may be wondering why, or maybe you're a Miami Heat fan and you're not wondering why. But to enlighten you, they're 3 talented, or I guess 3, star players in Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. None of them are 3-level scorers. Jimmy and Bam are great inside, but do not have a consistent, 3-point jumper. And then Tyler Hero is a great mid-range and 3-point shooter, but he is not the greatest pressure at the rim, if you will. Jimmy Butler has proven on a couple different occasions that he can be the #1 guy on offense, but it would definitely be nice if he's having one of those passive nights that Jimmy Butler tends to have, especially during the regular season. I might add that it would be nice for Jimmy to give Zach the ball and say, hey, go get us a bucket. Zach Lavine has shown time and time again that he is a 3-level scorer. Really fast. That's what makes him a great pressure at the basket on the rim. His change of pace in transition, his ability to kind of stop and go and shake defenders off their heels. Very talented mid-range and 3-point shooter. Need I remind you, I believe he has the 3rd most 3-pointers made in a game, 14 at Charlotte. I think that was last year or 2 years ago. The only problem with this trade is that it would have to probably be something centered around the likes of maybe a Kyle Lowry, a Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, or Nikola Jovic. I'm not really sure or maybe even Jaime Jaquez Jr. And that's just the thing. I'm not really sure if they're ready to just, honestly, I would assume Jaime Jaquez Jr. is probably untouchable, but Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, Nikola Jovic, a lot of these guys probably, or even Kevin Love, they could be on the block for this trade. I'm no, Heat guru, so I'm not going to sit here and say who they should and shouldn't give up. I'm just saying both of these teams could definitely make something work. Next, we have the New York Knicks, which is probably my favorite landing spot for him. The Knicks have been great this season, as they are, on defense at least, as they are top 10 in defensive rating, but they desperately need outside spacing, and RJ Barrett is not the man for that. Jalen Brunson has proven that he can handle being the #1 guy, at least for the majority of the season. Julius Randle does have his nights where he is 1A, but most times it seems like, recently at least, he's been 1B. The Knicks could easily put something together with RJ Barrett or Emmanuel Quickley, and then, if they make things shake with a trade like that and some picks, then next thing you know, the Knicks are Jalen Brunson, Zach Lavine, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and then you have one of Quickley or Barrett off the bench. That is an outstanding roster. They also have Dante DiVincenzo off the bench. I really do think that for the New York Knicks, he is a great landing spot. The Knicks can help make up for the lack of defense that Zach plays, and Zach can help up for the lack of outside scoring they have outside of Jalen Brunson, because obviously Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo can knock down threes, but especially Josh Hart, not very much of a volume shooter. And then with Julius Randle, he can knock down 3-pointers, but he is way too much of a volume shooter, and he just continues to shoot. You could argue it's good that he's trying to shoot out of slumps, but I digress. Next, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. They definitely kind of share similarities with the Knicks here because of the fact that they're great on defense, but on the outside perimeter, they're 29th in 3-point attempts a game. LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell are leading this team in 3-point attempts and 3-point makes. For this team, I would say Zach Lavine goes to the Lakers, and then the Bulls would receive D'Angelo Russell, either Rui Hachimura or Jared Vanderbilt, and then a 2028 first-round pick. And then maybe you have to go as far as adding a 2030 top 5 protected or a lottery protected first-round pick, because I'm not sure how high they value D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, you're making this trade more for the Rui Hachimura and the draft capital. Zach Lavine would help a lot to take the burden off LeBron James, which is something I've been wanting for a long time, for LeBron James to not have to be the #1 guy. And if Anthony's going to be hurt or, not be the #1 guy on most nights, then I really do think that this is a great option. Zach Lavine is, as I mentioned a couple times down this video, a great 3-point shooter, 3-level scorer. I feel like I don't need to say much about this trade. This is probably the most, fair or doable, if you will. But obviously, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer for contracts to line up. But I do, think that this is very well a possibility if they're, having trade talks about trading D'Angelo Russell for DeJounte Murray. The only reason I could see them maybe not wanting to trade for Zach Lavine is the possibility that they don't want to deal with his antics or defensive or lack thereof defensive ability. We're going to go over this next one really quick because personally I just can't see it happening. Zach Lavine, there's been talks of him going to Philadelphia. Now, it could happen. Philly could trade for Zach Lavine and then they could give up like Marcus Morris, Rocco, Nick Batum, and then 3 firsts or 4 firsts or 2 firsts and a lot of seconds. This would literally be taking what they got for James Harden and then flipping it into Zach Lavine. Now, the reason I don't really like this is because yes, Lavine can get 20 points, 25 points in his sleep. However, it makes you wonder who's going to do worse in this setting. Is it going to be Zach or is it going to be Tyrese? Because neither of them are very great off the ball scorers and neither of them really make up for what they lack. I mean, Tyrese shows effort and energy on defense, but he's definitely not an all defensive talent. And Zach Lavine isn't that either. This would be a great trade for the Bulls because if you get, Batum and Rocco and Marcus Morris and the 3 firsts or 4 firsts or 2 firsts and a bunch of seconds, it would be a really great trade. However, I'm not really sure that the Philadelphia 76ers want to mess up the formula that they have going right now. That's a decision for Daryl Morey to make. It would definitely take some stress off Joel Embiid, but how much stress do you want to take off a guy that's averaging 35, 12, and 6? I'm not really sure. And then finally, the last one, and by the way, he could get traded to, the Spurs or the Pistons or one of those bottom feeders. I'm trying to keep this relatively contender-like for this video. So the last one we're going to talk about is a trade to the Kings. The Kings would get Zach Lavine, and then the Chicago Bulls would receive someone like Kevin Huerter, Davion Mitchell, maybe Chris Duarte, and then a first-round pick. If they're giving up Huerter and Mitchell and Duarte, I don't think they should be giving up 2 first-round picks, maybe 1 and a second or just 1 straight. I think that this would be really good for, De'Aaron Fox, obviously, and Keegan Murray and Sabonis. It would even be really good for Harrison Barnes. I think this team is very, very solid, but they're missing a punch outside of De'Aaron. Obviously, De'Aaron can explode for 30 or 40 points any given night, and he plays really great in transition, and he's really fast, very bouncy. So is Zach Lavine. The thing is like when you get to Sabonis, yeah, he'll get you 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, maybe 24 points a night, but it's very back to the basket oriented. It's very set oriented. It's very lob threat or transition basket oriented. You need someone who, when the game slows down in the playoffs, can help. If they're doubling De'Aaron, Keegan Murray just isn't to that point yet. Harrison Barnes is just not, that guy, that second option. So I think this would be a really solid trade. I really do like Kevin Huerter. I think he's kind of Kings culture, if you will, and Davion Mitchell's given some really solid defense off the bench. And you're kind of taking a flyer on Chris Duarte because I liked what he did in Indiana, but I haven't really seen much of him in Sacramento. All in all, though, I just think it's time for Zach Lavine to, I don't want to say it's time for him to move on, but it's time for the Bulls to move on. What do you guys think? What do you make of this video? Should Zach get shipped away or should he stay? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it this far, I appreciate your support as always. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, healthy, and blessed. Peace.